people. Do we agree they're special? Say, I love you, Mom and Dad. That's true. Never take drugs. Don't drink alcohol. Don't smoke. Enjoy your life, okay?
Gripping images of first responders in action that are taking us into the dark trenches of a deadly and growing epidemic in this country. It comes just as the federal government is launching a new initiative to curb the opioid crisis that claims tens of thousands of American lives every year. We get more from NBC's Pete Williams.
When a Cleveland, Ohio woman saw this man slumped behind the wheel of a parked car, she feared the worst.
I felt I was staring in the face of death. It was scary. I was just thinking, like, what can I do?
She posted these pictures after police responded, suspected a heroin overdose, and gave life-saving medication.
There you go. Yeah!
A scene disturbingly similar to what Ohio police recently posted. A couple passed out in a car from a suspected overdose.
And then on to college, where he became an addict. He could be your child or the kid next door. As the president said in his address on Saturday, 44% of Americans know someone who has been addicted to prescription painkillers.
So Obama's talking about all of this with the global warming and that, and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's a hoax. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Can you say whether or not the president believes that human activity is contributing to the warming of the climate?
Honestly, I haven't asked him.
Okay.
I can get back to you.
Yes or no? Does the president believe that climate change is real and a threat to the United States?
You know what's interesting about all the discussions we had through the last several weeks have been focused on one singular issue. Is Paris good or not for this country? That's the discussions I've had with the president.
I'd like to go back to the first question that was asked that you didn't answer. Does the president believe today that climate change is a hoax?
You know, I did answer the question because I said the discussions the president and I have had over the last several weeks have been focused on one key issue. Is Paris good or bad for this country?
Shouldn't you be able to tell the American people whether or not the president still believes that climate change is a hoax? Where does he stand?
As I indicated several times through the process, there's enough to deal with respect to the Paris Agreement and making an informed decision about this important issue.
What does the president actually believe about climate change? Does he still believe it's a hoax? Could you clarify that, since apparently nobody else in the White House can?
Yeah, I have not had an opportunity to have that discussion.
Would it be possible for you to have that conversation with him and then report back to us at the next briefing?
If I can.
Amazon is burning. A record number of fires, over 72,000, have been detected in the world's largest rainforest this year. Brazil's National Institute for Space Research reports that's an 83% increase from last year.
Overnight, scorching 5,000 acres, forcing thousands of families to evacuate. Matt Gutman is on the front lines there in Ventura County, California, with the very latest. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. This fire has exploded in size overnight. You can see it just consuming that brush behind me. Now, I want you to see this valley below us. The entirety of it is up in flames. All those flames are moving towards homes down in the valley. That is the major concern, structure protection this morning.
This brush fire in Ventura County exploding overnight, going from sparks to over 8,000 acres in about 6 hours. The so-called Maria fire threatening nearly 2,000 structures as it races up these hills. Its speed prompting officials to call for the mandatory evacuation of over 7,500 people in the middle of the night.
I looked over and the house, I heard the explosion of either propane tanks or something going off, and then, you know, it was just gone. You know, really fast.
Tell me, get it going!
First responders and homeowners.
Crews are battling at least 10 active wildfires across California. In the north of the state, the Kincaid fire has scorched more than 76,000 acres since it ignited last week. Firefighters reported making significant progress battling those flames. By Thursday morning, the fire was 60% contained. Meanwhile, in Southern California, strong winds helped ignite 2 new fires early on Thursday. The so-called 46 fire in Riverside County has burned at least 5 structures.
Firefighters, no match for flames this ferocious and this intense.
That curtain of fire igniting palm trees here on the Bolivian-Brazilian border, fueled by wind, the flames leaping across the dry brush.
It's shocking how fast we've seen this fire march. It's moved about 200 yards in the past 5 minutes alone, fueled by this wind. We're going to try to get moving a little bit faster to get out of its way. Keep going.
Geronimo, a rancher here, tells me a tanker dropped water on the fire nearby, but it's no use. He says it's all going to be gone.
Northern hemisphere is simply melting away.
The melt is winning this game.
We've now broken all-time records for 3 consecutive years.
As oceans continue to rise, flooding the streets of American cities half a world away.
What happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic.
Imagine a world where hurricanes and heat waves wreak havoc.
Breaking news as Hurricane Irma continues to show no mercy.
Just a hellstorm. The fire just whipped.
Where politicians deny the problem as temperatures continue to rise.
It's Naomi, and I'm 11 years old. I represent the African American women who are victims of gun violence. I'm here to say never again for those girls too.
Never did I think I would be herded like cattle by a shower of bullets that left me scarred and rattled.
My brother, he was in high school when he passed away. You hear pops thinking they're fireworks. They weren't pops.
My nephew, Deshaun Moore. He was taken away on May 28th in the year of 2017, 2 weeks after his 16th birthday.
I've had to make statements like this too many times. Communities like this have had to endure tragedies like this too many times. We don't have all the facts, but we do know that, once again, innocent people were killed in part because someone who wanted to inflict harm had no trouble getting their hands on a gun. Now is the time for mourning and for healing. But let's be clear. At some point, we as a country will have to reckon with the fact that this type of mass violence does not happen in other advanced countries. It doesn't happen in other places with this kind of frequency. And it is in our power to do something about it. I say that recognizing the politics in this town foreclose a lot of those avenues right now. But it'd be wrong for us not to acknowledge it. And at some point, it's going to be important for the American people to come to grips with it. And for us to be able to shift how we think about the issue of gun violence collectively.
Keep going. Run out that way. Keep going. Keep going.
In the room, the content here may be disturbing.
Possible shots fired at Stoneman Douglas High School.
This morning, chilling images and 911 calls from the Parkland massacre, painting a timeline of terror. 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz seen here loading an AR-15 in the hallway of Stoneman Douglas High School as a frightened freshman walks past. The Sun-Sentinel reporting that according to that freshman, Cruz telling him, "You'd better get out of here, things are going to start getting messy." Moments later, Cruz killing 17 students and staff.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
The release of surveillance videos and audio, all part of a scathing draft report from a Florida State Commission, shining a light on a
school under siege.
As the school is in a panic, I've got students down under the table, kids! Heads under the table!
2 students launch a deadly assault on Columbine High.
Oh God! Stay in the line of fire! Hey, kids, just stay down!
The whole time I just pretended to be dead.
John, good morning.
Good morning. Well, police say they found in the Mandalay Bay Hotel back here
That room was filled with weapons, as many as 10 weapons in the room that this gunman was using to shoot down into the crowd that was gathered for this concert on the other side of the Las Vegas Strip. Now, cell phone video is helping investigators put together exactly what happened. Many of the people gathered there say it was the scariest time of their life. Initially, many thought the pops they heard were fireworks associated with the show, but soon it became obvious that this was an attack. What sounded like automatic gunfire rang out late Sunday night. The bullets spraying into a crowd of roughly 22,000 concertgoers on the Las Vegas Strip. These videos captured the chaos unfolding on the ground.
I've been running for president. I've had more than 100 town halls. I've taken more than 2,000 unfiltered questions. And the single hardest question I've gotten, I got one from a little boy and I got one from a little girl. And that is to say, when you're president, how are you going to keep us safe? That's our responsibility as adults. 7 children will die today from gun violence, children and teenagers. And they won't just die in mass shootings. They'll die on sidewalks, they'll die in playgrounds, they'll die in people's backyards. Gun violence is a national health emergency in this country, and we need to treat it like that. So what can we do? We can do the things that are sensible. We can do the universal background checks. We can ban the weapons of war. But we can also double down on the research and find out what really works, where it is that we can make the differences at the margins that will keep our children safe. We need to treat this like the virus that's killing our children.
You didn't address, do you think the federal government needs to go and figure out a way to get the guns that are already out there?
What I think we need to do is we need to treat it like a serious research problem, which we have not done. You know, guns in the hands of a collector who's had them for decades, who's never fired them, who takes safety seriously, that's very different from guns that are sold and turned over quickly. We can't treat this as an across-the-board problem. We have to treat it like a public health emergency. That means bring data to bear, and it means make real change in this country, whether it's politically popular or not.